RJ Barrett is a name you may or may not have heard, but over the next 2 years you will definitely begin to hear it, as the young Canadian superstar is set to burst onto the college scene with Duke in 2018. This video will give you an early glimpse into Barrett's young career, his family history, and the potential he has for both Duke and in the NBA. RJ hails from an extreme basketball family. His dad was a great Canadian basketball player and is currently the assistant general manager for the Canadian basketball team, whilst his mother was also an exceptional sprinter at the college level. Blessed with these exceptional genetics from his athletic parents, Barrett was also surrounded by high-level basketball minds, as his dad is a lifelong friend of Steve Nash, who is a godparent to RJ. His life has been basketball, and basketball, going to school and playing hoops from an exceptionally young age. The polish and development that comes from this is clear. Barrett has a good handle, a decent shot, and really appears to understand the game at a deeper level than most prospects his age, and demonstrates this through his slashing, the part of his game that is clearly best at this early stage of his career. But the best thing about Barrett is his athleticism and frame. The young Canadian is incredibly long and tall, coming in at 6'6" or 7 with a 6'10" wingspan. Barrett has incredible length to utilise on the court. This really comes into great effect when he's in transition and can use his incredibly long strides to get to the rim and around defenders. The way he does this looks similar to a guy like Giannis on the court, who simply glides around defenders in transition with his immense length. Barrett is a very skilled player for a 17-year-old, and I fully expect his handles to tighten up over the next few years in his last year of high school and his first year of college. But these huge guards that are 6'6" and taller tend to take a little longer to adapt to their body and become fully comfortable with their handles and passing, so I'm not really worried about this aspect of RJ's game. He also has a bit of a weird shot that I'm not really sure what to make of. Scouts refer to him as an under-the-lights shooter, meaning that he doesn't always shoot well in practice, but manages to shoot well in real games. For his young career, he's shooting 38.5% from deep on 39 attempts. The sample size is worrying, as it doesn't really give us enough to be sure he's a good shooter. For example, if he missed just 2 more shots, his percentage would drop to 33.5%. This is one of the big problems with trying to judge young shooters. The sample size usually isn't there, and that is why scouts have begun to rely more on watching them in practice and using their free throw percentage as an indicator of shooting skill. And this is perhaps the scariest thing about Barrett. He shoots only 57.5% from the free throw line. Lonzo Ball and Markelle Fultz were similar shooters in college, with good 3-point percentages and bad free throw percentages, and they have both struggled shooting the 3 in the NBA coming into the league. Now, I'm not saying that these players or Barrett will never be able to shoot 3s in the NBA. They most likely will. Just that expectations should be tempered when a player is shooting a poor percentage from the free throw line, and that players who do so should most likely lock themselves in the gym and work on that consistency with their stroke in order to gain a more consistent shot. So you might be wondering why on earth this video exists if Barrett has a semi-loose handle and a streaky jumper. Is this kid really the next #1 prospect in high school? And why? Well, the biggest thing about his game that I like is his poise and execution on the court. RJ uses a herky-jerky style of basketball that is very similar to James Harden. Like Harden, Barrett is also left-handed and uses change of pace and crossover dribbles to keep his defender off balance. And getting his defender off balance is key for Barrett, as it allows him to either pull up or drive past the defender to get the rim. And this is where Barrett's insane length allows him to score more easily. When he drives, his long arms allow him to make use of the tiniest amounts of space to get his shot off uncontested. And when he pulls up, the release is so high that it is almost impossible to block. This will be Barrett's bread and butter in the NBA, using his quick first step and change of speed to drive and get open. To balance this, he has developed a really good floater that helps him not get caught in the awkward space between the free throw line and the rim. Instead of having to shoot an awkward 8-foot jumper or drive into traffic, he can spring off the floor and shoot a nice floater off of the top of helping big man. Barrett hasn't shown much in terms of his ability to operate in the pick and roll yet, but this is pretty common for high school players, as they usually don't need a screen to blow by their man, and teams will usually just double players as good as RJ in the pick and roll at this level of basketball. He will likely begin to learn this at Duke, and I think he should be quite successful, as he has already demonstrated the ability to pass on the court when he is dialed in and wants to, making nice reads and hitting quick, timely passes to teammates in both the half court and transition. But skills aside, the thing I love most about RJ is the fire and passion he plays the game with. He's one of those kids that clearly loves basketball and wants to win more than anything else. His standout moment of his young career was the semi-final game against the United States in the FIBA Under-19 World Championships. Barrett led and dominated for the Canadian team to a remarkable upset win against the United States, and finished with the incredible stat line of 38 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. Calipari and the Americans tried everything to stop the scoring wing, but RJ scored from the three-point line, in the post, in transition, and slashing into the paint. He also set his teammates up with smart looks when the US overloaded onto him. Beating the United States in international play is remarkable at any level, and Barrett and the Canadians should be praised enormously for that effort. The US team hasn't lost since 2011, and it should not be diminished just because everyone on the court was under 19 years of age. Following this game, Barrett would lead Canada to the victory over Italy in the final and be named the tournament MVP and was a leading scorer on the world stage. And now the international star is heading to Duke, one of America's most storied basketball college programs. A lot of fans do dislike Duke and their rich history, but no one can deny the success they've had in the NCAA and in developing talent for the NBA. Under Coach K, they've had enormous success and have never missed the NCAA tournament. Coach K has just had Jason Tatum and Brandon Ingram on his roster over the past 2 seasons, and both players have developed tremendously under the famous coach. They had incredibly versatile offensive games and developed into good shooters in college that could get their shot off whenever they wanted. Both players have transitioned to the NBA well, as Tatum is impressing heavily in his rookie year, and Ingram looks more and more comfortable with every game that he plays. I fully back RJ to develop under Coach K in the same fashion as Tatum and Ingram, and the best part is he has a whole year until he arrives on campus to improve and tweak his game. I hope he works on tightening up his handle and bringing consistency to his outside shooting, because if he does, he'll have the complete all-around game in a similar fashion to James Harden and Manu Ginobili. And if he does live up to his full potential, he'll be a shot for the number 1 pick and a top talent that teams will be closely watching over the next 2 years for the 2019 draft. But Canadian basketball fans should also be excited, as Barrett will one day join the Canadian men's national team, and the squad looks primed to be able to compete with the US at the international level. The Canadian team is absolutely filled with NBA talent, and they currently have Andrew Wiggins, Jamal Murray, Tristan Thompson, Kelly Olynyk, Corey Joseph, and Nick Stauskas on the roster. Barrett gives them another elite scoring option for the future, and between Wiggins, Murray, and Barrett, they should have enough scoring to blow out most teams out of the water. If they can find a defensive big man, or if Thompson plays above his NBA level, they might be able to challenge and threaten the US at the 2020 Olympics and onwards. So keep your eye out for RJ Barrett, and be sure to tune into some highlights as his profile increases over the course of this season, because this kid could be the next NBA superstar, and is easily the best Canadian basketball prospect since Andrew Wiggins. And Duke fans can rest easy, knowing that they can enjoy Marvin Bagley this season, and when he leaves, one of the most unique and dynamic guards in high school history will be replacing him. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA videos in the future, and comment below on what you think about Barrett, Duke, and the future of the Canadian basketball team.